Which device should you pick up? The M2 MacBook Air or an iPad, whether if it's the iPad Air or iPad Pro? Or we can even go out the limb and say the base iPad. You got to ask yourself one question, one very important question. Who are you? Are you a student? Are you trying to start your business? Are you upgrading from a Windows PC or upgrading from an old Mac? And right out the limb, I want to start off with school because school is pretty much around the corner. For some people, they already started school, which I wish you guys good luck. I hope you had a first good day. Students, I recommend the iPad. Now, when I was going to school, I only carried an iPad Pro. The first generation iPad Pro 9.7 inch, I was like on top of the food chain. This is back in 2016, and the iPad was my only school notebook. It was the only thing in my bag. I kid you not. And this completely changed like my college journey. It really did. And I'm not even saying this. Apple did not sponsor this video, nothing like that. But it really transformed like learning. It really did. But we have apps like Notability, Good Notes. Those are my notebook applications that I use to jot down notes. And you pair it up with the Apple Pencil, everything just feels so natural. And to take it even a step further, we have screen protectors like Paperlike. It was just a different experience. On Notability, you have a microphone feature. So if your professor is talking about things to study for your final or for your midterm, you could tap on the mic, jot down your notes, and then when you get home, you could play back the recording and actually study and listen back to what your professor is saying. Now, something very important, you might want to talk to your professor about using an iPad to jot down notes because some of them, they just not having it with this because they still consider this as like a phone, basically. I had one situation where the professor was looking at me like this.
Sean, what are you doing? No electronic devices in my class.
And I was like, oh, holy smokes. But I was telling him I was jotting down the notes.
No, it don't matter. That's an electronic device.
The Apple Pencil is becoming a more common thing. Maybe that professor now kind of understands that I was really using it to take down notes and stuff. And one more point on the school thing. I don't want to talk about the school part too long. If you major in the Adobe suite or graphic design where you got to use Photoshop, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, then you will need to get a MacBook because the iPad, you don't have Dreamweaver. You have Infinity Photo, you have alternative apps, but your professor's not going to curate or focus on you. Oh, he has the iPad. Let me teach it differently. They're going to follow the Mac OS way. But for basic classes like math, science, where you're just simply jotting down notes, the iPad, 110%. All right, moving on. Maybe you're starting a business and you don't know which device. Now, this is something that's very vague because a business could be you're doing videography work, photography work, or maybe you're selling or drop shipping or you're selling merchandise. The business can mean a very vague statement. It depends on what you do. But if you're a videographer or a photographer, this is where things get a little tricky because you do have Infinity Photo, you do have LumaFusion for video editing, you have Lightroom, which this is how I edit all of my Instagram pictures. Follow me on Instagram at Simplypops. The iPad makes things a little bit more easier because of that Apple Pencil. You could be able to retouch some of your pictures. It is a pleasant experience editing pictures on an iPad, and I cannot go back to a Mac. I can't even tell you when's the last time I edited a photo on my MacBook unless I'm using Photoshop. For photography, honestly, I recommend the iPad as well too because Lightroom and the Pixelmator, it just makes things a little bit more easier. The iPad is going to treat you just fine for photography. Now for videography, yes, you have LumaFusion, and we have a bunch of my YouTube friends who actually edits off of LumaFusion. We have Josh Brown, we have Fernando, we have some successful YouTubers out there or who's just started a YouTube career with just an iPad. So it can be done, but, and I might sound very biased on this, but I recommend the MacBook because of Final Cut Pro. Now, I've been editing videos for the last decade, for these last couple of years. I'm used to Final Cut Pro. And then another thing too, with Final Cut Pro, you can be able to install third-party plugins, add these beautiful motion graphics that you guys see on screen right now. The MacBook with Final Cut Pro, it just makes it a no contest for me. But if you want to do it as a hobby, you can certainly do it on the iPad. But if you're doing it professionally and you're taking it seriously, the MacBook is the way to go. More preferably, I recommend the MacBook Pro. And it goes without saying, if you decided between these two for coding, unfortunately, the MacBook wins again on this department too as well, because you have Xcode. You barely have any coding apps on the iPad. But in this case, the MacBook will be a lot more easier to code things. And moving on, maybe you're just someone who's just trying to just get another device. You're just casually surfing the web, checking your emails. I would say the iPad would do you just fine. And the last thing I want to touch on, maybe you're just an average consumer. You have an old machine, or maybe you just want a device to surf the web, check your emails, do shopping. Either or, you could be able to get the job done, but the iPad I'm going to give the point to, because it's just more fun to shop on the iPad, booking a plane ticket, checking your emails, interacting with the iPad, especially with the iPad Pro with its 120 hertz refresh rate. It just makes things fun. You could be able to move around with it more efficiently, and it's just fun. Perfect example, my mom, she had the HP Pavilion laptop back in 2007, and that's why I filmed my first YouTube video, ironically. She had that, didn't know how to use it, and then my dad brought her an iPad in 2015, or was it 2016? I think it was 2015. That she got the larger size iPad, so she ended up just doing everything on her own. She's used to it. She love it. It's easier to use, and it's just more portable in the sense of this is it. This is just the only device you need. In that department, I recommend the iPad. And something to keep in mind of, some sites might not play along well with the iPad. If you use an iPad, you understand what I'm talking about, because there's sometimes you got to go through some loopholes just to get it done on the iPad. But I would say it's gotten better throughout the years as sites mature and start to be more optimized for the iPad. And same thing with iPad OS. It's getting better. You have Stage Manager, you have improvements, but comparing it to Mac OS, Mac OS is far more superior than iPad OS. I made an entire video talking about Amazon Certified Refurbish or Apple Certified Refurbish. You can save a ton of cash by going with those. You're gonna need the Apple Pencil if you're going to school, because that's where all the magic happens, the Apple Pencil. The keyboard, you could probably wait on a little bit because I know it's expensive, but I highly recommend you pick that up too as well. You are gonna find yourself needing to type out a document or type out an essay versus the MacBook. This is all you need. This is the only one device, and that's it. And that's basically it. I wanted to talk about this because now that we have school starting back up, people getting back into their grind. Winter time is coming. People are hungry now. It's time to hustle, man. Summer is over. And I hope this video helped. If it did, I appreciate it with a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe with notifications on. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok at Simplypops. Until next time, guys, have a simple day. Peace.